creating a new updated library policy is needed. And I think that policy should be a joint effort between the library board and ourselves. And once we get to meet with them, we can all look at what we have in common and what we need to compromise on. I think that a different section would be good. We need to work with, I'm like Jan, the Dewey Decimal System is what we had when we were growing up. We didn't have all this material available readily for the kids. And I disagree. I don't think parents get down with the kids all the time. Because, they go and drop them off at the library and expect for the library to babysit the kids. So that's where the problems come in, because the kids sometimes are left alone because they need to go to the library, go do their homework. But when they finish their homework and their parents aren't there, then they can walk around and, just like kids, they can get in trouble. So I think that we need to have a section where they can, the adults can definitely sign out material for the kids if they want. But if I don't want my child doing that, then I don't need to have it that easily or that readily available for them. I'm not saying to ban the books or take the books out of the library. I'm just saying to move them to where, the kids, but, kids are kids. They're going to be curious, and they're going to want to go and see the books anyway. So we're still going to have, it's not going to be a full, foolproof, because the kids are still going to go up there and look, because other kids will talk, and that's how, they go and find out these things. I respect all, genders. I understand that that's, something that we have up and coming, and we have to, accept all human beings as children of God. And I'm not in no way, saying that, these books are going to be banned, but I think that everybody should be taken into account. And we just need to work on a solution, and a compromise is probably going to be the best, or is going to be the best way, so that we don't, keep this going for another year or so. I appreciate everybody's comments, and it's opened up my eyes to the new library system, because I was like, okay, I may not be able to find a book in the library. But yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Solis.
Very complex topic. So without going over things that Dwayne said or Jan said, again, to shorten the time here, I agree with y'all, both y'all, about 95% of what y'all said. I need more clarification from Ms. Allison Lacey on what the Texas law is considering obscenities, okay? Two people said it, and I want the law, I want the number, and I want exactly what it says about pornography, okay? I believe the collection policy for the library needs to be reviewed. I don't agree with the Dana Capano. I just chopped up your last name. Sorry, Dana, saying that we need to follow the American Library Association guidelines or policies. I think we need to develop our own. From what she said our rating system, it appears she said that our rating system is subjective, not objective, because we don't have a good way to review books. Carl Westbrook said it best tonight, that until we quit arguing and come to some kind of agreement, there's not going to ever be a solution at all. That there will not be a solution until we compromise, come to some kind of solution and compromise. I don't appreciate anyone attacking the LGBTQ in any shape, form, or fashion. I don't want anybody from that group attacking me for wanting to protect our children from obscene material, not anything concerning LGBTQ. I've got a lot of friends out there, and Anthony, and you know that, Tony. I got a lot of friends out there that we need to come to some kind of compromise. We need to figure this out. If it takes 6 months or a year, but these groups have to quit fighting, and we have to quit pointing fingers, and we got to find a solution. Again, I want that law as soon as possible, so we can determine what are we trying to figure out here? What are we trying to do? What are we not trying to do? But the name calling and the finger pointing for these 4 different groups has to quit.
All right. Thanks. Well, just sitting back here listening to everybody, right? I think I heard a consensus that we think there's an issue with some of the books in the library. I heard 2 different type of compromise of putting them in some section that are still accessible. But then we also have some policy changes that deal with different levels of maturity within our youth. And whether or not they even get into those sections. But, you know, if you took some of the comments tonight about how parents should be responsible and this and that, and don't take away those parents' rights, well, why don't we take some of these books that are human sexuality and that we don't want to take out of the library, why don't we put them in the parenting section? If this is supposed to be a conversation between a child and its parent about these issues that they're facing, why wouldn't they be in the parenting section? And I think there's instances we could say, let's put it in this section, let's put it in that section, if that's the way we want to go. But I'm just saying, those are the 2 things that I heard, maybe collecting those together so that there was a restricted access and new policies.
As you say that, and if that's the route we would go, I would be very careful to take a collective human sexuality / relationships. It's not LGBTQ, hetero, it's all. I mean, I say relationships and sexuality isn't one group versus another. That's collective. And so I would hope, if that's the goal, is that it's all encompassed and not separating out one group versus another.
I don't think we could.
Yeah, I just.
Yeah, I don't think we could do that.
Actually, I like the way the system is now, and I don't have a problem with it. And I know you're talking about moving sexuality, certain books to a certain section. There's a book that's called Sex is a Funny Word. And I looked up the book, and I was shown the book, and it shows illustrations of female and male genitalia. And when I was first shown the book, I go, well, why is that in the kids section? And I went and I looked at all the books, and all these books are very popular. And none of the books that have been brought up are not, they're all very popular. But one of the first review I read about this book was, this lady said her son was abused by a relative, and he discovered this book. And they had talked to counselor after counselor, and he wouldn't talk to anybody about anything. And when he discovered this book, he showed it to his mom. They started talking about it, and now they talk. So I think there's both sides to all these books. I've seen excerpts from these books, and yes, they shock me too. They do. But I think you need to understand what the whole books are about, because a lot of these books are about date rape. They're about things that happen to teenagers that teenagers can't even talk to their parents about. And yes, times have changed since when you and I went to the library. Sexuality's out there more. There's a lot more problems with sexuality. But the only place kids have to go to find out about this oftentimes is the library. So some parents wouldn't even let their kids check out these books. And maybe the kids need to see them on their own because they don't have anybody to talk to. So I think there's 2 sides to every issue here. I understand maybe a different, somehow rating books, but you're talking about, right now, there is no rating system for books. And we're gonna come up with one. That's gonna be really interesting. I don't think anything in the library now would be classified as obscene. If it was, somebody could take us to court and we'd be happy to pull the books out. And the Miller test was, we all know about the Miller test, and I believe the library board does too. I support their decisions. I understand people's concerns, but I also have a concern for the parents that want to be able to find these books in the library. If you take a library book and you make it hard for somebody to find,
Why would it be harder to find?
well, because a kid necessarily wouldn't come across
You
it.
said a parent wants to go find this book and it'd be
Well,
harder
or
to find.
a kid. Say a kid goes across, okay, let's talk about the penguin book, okay, which I find nothing wrong with penguins. It happens to be male penguins that raise the young anyway. But then these books are not accessible to people. If you take a book and you hide it somewhere, now I can understand classifying a book differently, but still it's open to the public. But if you start taking children's books and classifying different them because they have pictures of genitalia or whatever, I think that's wrong. That's what we have a library advisory board for. I've heard people say, well, we could take the books out and people could check them out from another library. But you're taking the book away from people. You're making it hard. They're not going to discover the books. Books are supposed to be in the library so you can discover them. And
It's one
there's this thing about we want to protect the children. Well, the children go over to the young adult section, then go find the National Geographic book on the body. I mean, where do you draw the line? We have a library board, and we have librarians that have been doing this for years, then all of a sudden, there's an issue. And I understand,
I think it's been a issue that's been building over the years.
and I agree
And
with you.
it's
It
not
has.
gotten the attention, not gotten the attention, not gotten the attention. And I think now, there's a big contingency that's had enough.
And I understand that, but I just think it's going to be really hard to draw lines about what goes where and what goes. And then if we draw this line, what if somebody decides that they don't want books that are non-Christian books? Where do we draw the line?
Well, that's a First Amendment right.
Well,
I'm under the opinion that a lot of these books that we've been presented and shown fail the Miller test. I see them as sexually explicit for no other reason than sexual explicitness. And if it's being a book to help a child with date rape, it doesn't need to be that graphic. And I think that it steps over the line on some of these and causes more issues and sexualizes it as opposed to dealing with the problem of date rape. And I see it crossing over the line, and that's why I think it needs to be addressed by us and by policy. And, I like what Dr. Young said about rating systems and the development of the mind. I pointed out, reading level 5.9, it's just how the words are strung together. It doesn't deal with what the book content is and what's the appropriateness of that book. And I think if we can find some way to define appropriateness, age appropriateness of the books that we have, I think we stand a much better chance of success for any type of changes we want to make. But we got to find that. And so far, it's been elusive. Not giving up hope because, as I mentioned last time, it's hard to define those books. It means something different to everybody else. The ones that I'm concerned about are the just really sexually explicit books that I think cross the line.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
are you all okay if we provide some comments as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
3 minutes.
I know we're short on time, but, I do believe and I think we can all agree that words matter as well, right? And so I think the fact that You know, you've made comments on your opinion of the fact that some of these books meet the Miller test. Quite frankly, I think will necessitate Allison speaking a little bit about the Miller test, because we also want to make sure, you know, that the headline tomorrow, you know, isn't city council, you know, thinks these books are against the Miller test, right? And so we need to be careful about that. And I want to ask Allison to briefly talk about that, if it's okay with you. I also think it's important that we, and I know you all do, but for the purpose of, you know, those tuning in, distinguish, you know, which books we're referring to, right? I mean, as was alluded 2 weeks ago, right? There are books that you've been provided that have not gone through the process, right? And so to just generally assume that every single book that somebody might be referring to in their mind, you know, is A, in the library, which it may or may not be, and B, may or may not have already gone through a process, right? And to give the library advisory board an opportunity to actually review it. And obviously, we don't have the time to actually go through every single book, but I think it's important that as part of your conversations, you know, you take that into account, hence the information that we've provided you in the past as a resource to be able to help you discern that, right? The other thing that I think is important too to keep in mind is, you know, the conversation started with hopefully some consensus around direction for staff. I would argue that the library advisory board deserves the same attention. The library advisory board are your appointees. They're the ones that, per current policy, are tasked to ultimately adopt this policy. And as you know, they've been working on this for all year, right? And we do have a library advisory board meeting tomorrow where this policy is on the agenda. And I think it would be appropriate to not only have direction for staff, but potentially direction to your appointees as to how you would like for them to proceed with this conversation. And so if we want to talk about, you know, what are some takeaways from today's conversation, I think it's that, is what are your expectations of the library advisory board as your appointees, especially since they've been having this conversation and have a meeting tomorrow. But then also that everybody truly understand what these definitions are. And since you've talked about them, I think Allison needs to talk about them for a few minutes as well.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So each of you has the PowerPoint that I presented previously in your packets, so you can kind of follow along. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, 'cause I know it's getting late this evening. So many of you have referenced the Miller test, which we've discussed previously. I'm going to hit the high points of that. That's the test used by the courts. It's been around since 1973 to determine whether or not something is considered obscene. It's a 3-prong test, and I'm going to go through each prong very briefly. Prong 1 is whether the average person applying contemporary community standards would find that the work, taken as a whole, appeals to the prurient interests. As I've pointed out, the key part of that prong is taken as a whole. So you have to consider the entire book or the entire work. Prong 2 is whether the work depicts or describes in a patently offensive way sexual conduct or exploratory functions as specifically defined by applicable state law. Prong 3 is whether the work, taken as a whole, lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. So those are the 3 prongs of the Miller test. And when you're talking about the Miller test, you have to, what courts have said is that because it's 3-pronged, there's different standards that apply to each prong. They have said that prongs 1 and 2 are a community standard, which I know is very important to the council, what our community standard is. Prong 3, however, is set as a national standard. So that's the prong where you take into consideration what would be considered a national standard. To be obscene, it must be shown that the average person applying contemporary community standards and viewing the material as a whole would find all 3 prongs of the Miller test have been met. So that means that in order for something to be obscene, it must meet all 3 prongs. Again, I believe, and Dana can correct me if I'm wrong, that the books that have been reviewed have gone through the Miller test by the Library Advisory Board. They know what it is, they're aware of it, they understand it as well. So to determine if material is obscene, it must be the predominant theme or purpose of the material, meaning that the main or principal thrust of that material, when assessed in its entirety and by its total effect, not by incidental themes or isolated passages or sequences. It's important to remember that all of these tests, you have to look at the book as a whole and not just specific sentences, words, chapters, so on and so forth. What is the entire book about? What is it saying? What's its theme? What does it portray? Do you have a question? Yes, sir.
Yes. The Miller test itself, was that directed towards adult books, children's books, all books?
All books.
So what's obscene to an adult versus the child, there's no difference.
Based on your community standard as well as the national standard, yes.
Is this a Supreme Court case or is it a Ninth Circuit?
That's Supreme Court.
Okay. 1973.
I can get into each of the prongs more in depth. You do have the information in front of you if you want me to, I don't know how far y'all want me to go with this. We can come back and discuss it more at the next meeting after you've had time to think about it, and I know this is a continuing conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I've been referencing it throughout, and when we were having citizens' comments, and I didn't take my comments lightly in saying that I felt that a number of these books don't pass the Miller test. They have not all gone through, like Mr. Garza said, the process of review. That's why I asked at the last meeting that, please get these started through the review process, and if someone wishes me to put them in for review, I don't have a problem doing that as well if you don't want to, so.
Well, secondly, though, because Mr. Garza asked for some type of direction for the Library Review Board, or Library Advisory Board, and it is kind of what we've said here about having some alternate policies for books for younger children, because if we have policies that are strong enough, then we don't have to worry about these books being on the shelves and meeting the Miller test as to whether they can be removed or not. It's, Mr. Crocker said, not all books that are written have to be in our library. And so I think that we could take a stronger look at what's coming in to begin with, as opposed to taking a look at the books that we have.
Lost my mic. And as we've discussed, there's definitely a different standard when it comes to determining what comes in versus what's already in and what you're going to be removed and why it's going to be removed. So those are definitely two different things for y'all to consider with this particular issue.
Let me see if I can restate what you said. I think if I was to say that what I heard from everybody up here was that the library staff and library advisory board develop some more detailed collection policies that deal with age groups by what is appropriate content for those age groups, that deal with mental development of, a child. Anybody want to tack on, or is that kind of what we're saying? And that's one portion of it?
I don't think so.
And I know, Mr. Lofgren, you don't agree, and that's
No,
that's okay.
I see great difficulty.
It's not an
It
easy
shouldn't,
task.
it shouldn't be that it shouldn't be tried, but I just see great difficulty.
Yep. So that would be one direction. I know it's not an easy one. I think that there are willingness up here to try and help the process along, but separate collection policies for each appropriate age group and content appropriate material, not just reading level, would be kind of what I'd take from tonight if the Library Advisory Board's meeting tomorrow.
How many new books are brought in, and how often are they brought in? Like in the juvenile section or the children? How often?
I can tell you that annually, we add around between 10,000 and 12,000 items a year.
Is that all
All,
items?
all books, all ages,
But is that just books, or is that books
all
and tapes?
materials,
All
all
materials.
materials,
How
all
many-
library materials.
And
How
we
many-
can obviously get the information and break it down in more
Yeah,
detail.
how many aren't adult? Is
Okay,
what I'm
I would
really
have
looking
to ask
for. Okay.
for the department to look into that.
Dana, since you're up there, let me ask you a
Yes.
question. The reviews that you said the teachers, librarians, and other professionals do of the books, are they like a weighted number, or are they looking, do you know what they use to categorize books or to rate them or to review them?
They're written reviews, so they're just like reading a review like you'd read in a newspaper or a review of a book. It may tell you a little bit about what the author is known for, what the topic is, kind of whether they cover that subject area very focused or broadly. I mean,
Does
it's a
it
written
refer to
review.
the age group that they're
There's-
talking to or writing to?
Okay, I'm not understanding exactly what you're
Okay,
asking.
just like a speaker, when they're going to talk to an audience, they have to think of their audience, what intellectual level they're at. So in these reviews, are they taking into account the intellectual level of the person reading the book? Is that part of the review or not?
I mean, I would say the intellectual level, they're not stating this is for an intellectual level at this
And their age level, so they wouldn't know,
But
they're just writing the book. It's not for an adult, it's not for a juvenile or, it's just written. There's no, in the review, it doesn't state who it's written for.
It might say, this is a picture book, like format. So that means to us in like professional terms that it has lots of pictures, few words. They might say this is a chapter book, possibly, or they put them in sections, possibly, that say chapter books.
Ms. Elise, are you asking whether the ratings or the reviews give you a G, PG, PG-13, NC-17 type of rating?
Something like that.
No.
So nobody knows, when you go pick up a book and there's a review on there, you don't know what age group. So how do you determine what age group you put it in?
We, you want to speak on that at all? I mean, the journals themselves will say like children's nonfiction, but it may mean children from babies to, whatever we have the upper limit of children, all in that area of the journal. So you're reading reviews by format, like board book, picture book, chapter book. But determining that it's for a specific age, like I said before, we don't say, this is a book for a 10-year-old, so only a 10-year-old can look at it. We don't set it that specific.
So what makes you put it in the children's section and not in the adult section?
Mainly, it's the format of it. For example, that it is a chapter book that is not at one of those higher, like we said, Lexile levels. That's one standard we might look at, that we can tell by the way it looks when it comes in, when we flip through it, that format is for a children's chapter book, a juvenile chapter book, versus an adult book. If you look at an adult book, you'll see that it has a lot more words. The way the book is formatted is very differently. We look at the subject headings. We look at all the different reviews, and they might give us a hint in that review that this was written for grade school level. Grade school could mean anything from kindergarten up through 6th grade, 5th grade. So it's not like a very specific, this book is only for 10-year-olds.
And therein, I think, lies the problem.
Yeah,
So
I can
we-
see
we
where the
have some
problem is,
flexibility.
I wouldn't be able to categorize anything that way, because if I'm the one that has to decide, then the responsibility falls on me.
And we do have, our software system has a really nice information in it on each title. So if you look up a title in our system, you can read the subject headings on that book. You can read they'll have a little blurb on that book. So that's one quick way to know kind of the content of that material.
That's my problem with not having the Dewey Decimal System.
Yes.
You have to know the name of the book to look it up to get the information, or you wander into that section. But as it is, you're just wandering down the
And
So Dana,
wander down the aisle.
so if I had anything about appropriately putting from a content standpoint, from a rating, can we find some rating system?
I think we should keep looking for that.
Yeah,
To
I wouldn't
interject
give
into
up.
the- No.
It may be hard,
Right.
and that's fine,
When
but
it-
I think it's a worthwhile goal.
Yeah. Is that?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask Dana a question. Ms. Dana Williams. You said that the material is reviewed at the national level and at the local level, correct?
Where did I say that? The item is reviewed at the national level and the local level?
The books are reviewed here locally, but it also comes with a review from
When they put them on the
national
shelf.
level or something like that?
Local reviews, I don't know what that would be. I mean, unless they wrote a review in the news, the Victoria Advocate of a book.
Who reviews the books locally? For you?
I think we're talking about, I think you're asking formal reviews, right? And Dane, that's why Dana's response is, well, we don't have somebody locally that does these formal reviews, you know, and writes them down, you know, the way that she's referring to reviews that are written by, you know, educators, you know, et cetera, right? If that's your question, there
You're
isn't that
asking
level
who
of
looks
review.
at it.
If you mean who's reviewing the books as simply as like who's literally looking at the book when it comes in, that's different.
Right.
Is that your question?
Yes,
That would be our staff
okay.
as they come in. Yeah.
So the
So they're
staff
unpacked
have a
and-
standard guideline that they follow, like guideline 1, 2, 3, 4, A,
We
B,
follow
C,
our
D?
policy, our collection development policy.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody,
And
okay, I know, well, yes, ma'am.
there was just one other thing that was brought up to me by my assistant director, Jessica, is that we use a system called OCLC. It's an industry standard across the world. We use it mainly, we've used it in the past for cataloging materials, but it provides us a lot of information, and libraries all over the world use it as well to determine the cataloging. So that's the location of items. That helps us as well.
What's it called again?
OCLC, WorldCat.
CLC.
And what does cataloging an item mean?
That determines where it's located in the building.
Okay.
So you talked about the Dewey Decimal System. So that's one portion of it. That you also have fiction books that you put under the author's last name. So your Dewey Decimal is usually your nonfiction. And that was what you were speaking about earlier, was having like that area, like there is an area that is the Dewey Decimal number for human sexuality.
Okay.
But the Dewey Decimal System doesn't apply to every book, right?
Right,
So that's
that's
why they
correct.
have to find different
Make
ways to do it.
decisions.
And that's for nonfiction?
Nonfiction.
For nonfiction
How are
is what
these
they
books
call that.
not nonfiction?
Okay. All right, well, I appreciate,
Some of these are.
Yeah.
so do you have enough from us tonight? Did we not confuse you more for Library Advisory Board or library
Ram,
staff?
I think it's a conversation that is ongoing, you know, I think,
I think so too. I
So-
don't think we're closed on any decision or anything. I think
not
there's
closed.
kind of a consensus to really look at collection policy development and age appropriateness, content coming into the library. And how we get there, I'm not gonna define tonight and get through those details, but
Possibly another section.
yeah, possibly another section still on the table. Haven't worked through that one totally. But I think that's where we leave it tonight. And again, thank you to everybody that came out tonight to participate in the discussion and give us your thoughts on each side of the issue. Thank you again to the council members for good, positive discussion. Very respectful, and I appreciate it. Okay, any other items from council?
You all are welcome to stay.
This may be a
Good stuff
record.
coming up. Sidewalks.
Thought I'd throw that out there for you.
Carports.
Okay, with that, we will close items from council. We're going to skip over 4 again and go to consent agenda. Ms. Hilbrick, will you help us out, please?
Item D1 is the adoption of minutes of the regular meeting held on August 2nd, 2022. Item D2 is a resolution authorizing a grant application to the Lone Star Operation in an approximate amount of $787,000 and designating the city manager as the authorized official. And item D3 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with Sweetwater Energy Solutions LLC of Victoria, Texas for solar lighting at the Green Ribbon Project in the amount of $74,415.30.
I'll move for approval of the consent agenda items D1 through 3.
A second.
Okay, thank you. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. Item E1.
Item E1 is a resolution appointing or reappointing members to the Planning Commission.
Sorry, I had to switch places there. So tonight, the resolution before you will appoint or reappoint members to the Planning Commission. So the terms of the Planning Commission is composed of 9 members that serve 3-year terms that are staggered, and the commissioners may not serve more than 2 consecutive 3-year terms. The current members of the board are Brian Rokita, Brian Olguin, Vic Caldwell, Gail Hode, Cynthia Staley, Dr. Derek Hunt, Victor Mendoza, Dan Mikalinka, and Monica Rodriguez. The terms of 3 members will expire later this month, and the new terms will end in August 2025 of the appointments that we're doing tonight. And 2 of the current members wish to be reappointed and are eligible to be reappointed. One of the current members is not eligible, that's Ms. Gail Hode, due to her term limits. So we received several applications, and they were included in your packet for consideration. Cynthia Staley and Dr. Derek Hunt do wish to be reappointed and are eligible. The other applicants were Braden Robertson, Stephen Kidder, Rebecca Spears, David Brown, and Mark Hinojosa. So before the meeting, ballots were placed at the dais. They include your names already, and I would ask that you, because you can't vote by secret ballots, I would ask that you circle the name of the 3 applicants that you wish to appoint to the commission. If there are not 3 clear winners, then we will vote again between the applicants with the most votes. So Sandra's going to come around and pick up your ballots as they're ready.
So I say, I want to thank Dr. Hunt for being here today. I know he had to leave, but he was here earlier.
Okay, it'll be just a moment while we tally the votes, but I do want to announce that the ballots are available in my office for review.
Should have started the meeting by saying that there is no Chick-fil-A tonight.
Oh,
So
then I
That would
came
have
to
been a
the
10-minute
meeting.
discussion while ago.
Okay, believe it or not, we do have 3 clear winners. So Ms. Cynthia Staley, Dr. Derek Hunt, and David Brown received the most votes.
Great.
So their names will be entered on the resolution.
Anybody like to make a motion?
I so move that we appoint or reappoint Cindy Staley and Dr. Derek Hunt and David Brown to fill in the positions for the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Just a thank you to all those that did apply. We appreciate your willingness to serve and continue asking for you to keep the applications coming. There's more positions that are always available. Just because you weren't selected on this one doesn't mean that you wouldn't be on another one. So, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right.
all right, so we've got
City
2
Manager.
2 city manager reports. We promise they will be quick-ish. But the first is an update on a few public art projects initiatives, and to kick that off, Kate Garcia, Main Street Manager, is going to come up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I promise to keep it short. Short yet informative. Tonight, we present an update on public art projects. These projects are driven by community input and documents such as the Downtown Master Plan. My clicker, here we go. Departments involved in planning and implementation are primarily Main Street Program, Keep Victoria Beautiful, and the Convention Visitors Bureau. One of these projects is the crosswalk art. You've probably seen it reported in the Victoria Advocate a few months ago, and more recently in a press release by our Public Information Office earlier today. This is a project that will have art in 9 east-west facing crosswalks downtown that will be painted with custom designs that reflect culture, history, and arts of Victoria. The Victoria Fine Arts Association is the spearheading organization that we're helping facilitate this project with. They've secured funding for all 9 crosswalks. Art will be installed from the 20th to the 26th of August, beginning at 9 p.m. each evening in order to kind of stay out of the way for safety of their artists at times of least amount of traffic through the area. An engraved paver acknowledging each sponsor will be placed near every crosswalk. And I would like to also mention that we are getting help from the Public Works Department to restripe the crosswalks that will have the art installed on them to make them look nice, fresh, and pearly white. Thank you, Ken. So as you'll see, here's a map of the crosswalks around downtown. I won't list all of them, but each little purple dot is where they'll be placed. Most of them are around De Leon Plaza, one up by the library, and some down further toward Santa Rosa Street. And here's some mock-ups, some 3D image renderings that will show you. These are the designs that will be installed on these 9 crosswalks, as well as more of the designs. That music bar up in the top right corner is actually Willie Nelson's On the Road Again. So we're really excited to see some musicians get out there and try and play those opening bars. I would like to note that all crosswalks were privately funded again through donations to the Victoria Fine Arts Association. Art will be facilitated by Josh Vega with the Free Arts Victoria program. He's done some work with us before, so we're excited to partner with him again. And I would also like to give a special thank you to the Victoria Fine Arts Association. They presented this idea to the Main Street program approximately 2 to 3 years ago. So it's been a long, hard haul for them, and so I'd like to thank them for their time and resources on this project. Some upcoming programs and initiatives and events that we have for this public arts project is the Viva Texas Film Festival. This will be September 16th through the 18th. And in conjunction with this, we'll also have our quarterly art walk. That has been a program that's been around for a couple of years. And also a new, again, Victoria Fine Arts Association program, the Music Walk. So all 3, the film festival, the art walk, and the music walk will all occur on that Saturday, the 17th. Other programs include Electrical Box Wrap Project that we're working with the Convention Visitors Bureau on, and the Public Art Initiative that you see the armadillo down there. That is just an example. We haven't settled on a specific animal or design yet, but that is an art initiative primarily spearheaded by the Main Street Program Board. They're trying to put together a program that will span a few years. It'll be a fundraising mechanism for that Main Street Board. So we'll look forward to having more details as they get further down that planning process to present to you. And with that, I will turn it over to Christy for your Community Appearance KBB.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. To follow up what Main Street is doing, you've been hearing a little bit in the past about the public art mural project, and we're ready to get going on that coming up soon. As you remember, or you might not remember, but we've got this, we're gonna focus on the Laurent Street Underpass, which is that whole strip there. And it's heavily trafficked, as you know, and it's an expansive area. And we're narrowing in on this so we can cover the entire area, not just pick out spots. If you pick out spots, sometimes the spot next to it looks really bad. So we're gonna just do the whole thing and really make it pop. What you see up there, and I'll give you the timeline in just a second, we have selected a artist team, Up Art Studio, that will be doing this work for us after we did an RFQ and we selected them. They were the sole bidder. They also project manage. They're out of Houston, and they're really turning out to be a good team. What you see up there, those 3 images, are just examples of their work in other places that were relevant. So this is in other areas. You can get a sense of some of the things they've done. This is just the timeline. And in July, we selected Up Art Studio. We are now in the process of the design. And you might have received a survey from me related to this. And this design process is getting themes together to provide to the artist team. So then they will put some mock-ups together that we will get out to the public. So we'll actually get public input on this, but first we just want to get the themes together to give to the artists. Does that make sense? Okay, so there's some little questions. We do have a committee that we put together with city staff as well as Keep Victoria Beautiful and some representation from Crossroads Art House as well, just to get the themes going. We anticipate the end of September getting these mock-up designs out, and then October we'll select the final design, finalize that contract. We do not have a contract with them. We just have this RFQ. So we're working with them on that process now. And we want to get that done. We anticipate presenting that to council in November. Project start date will be early spring. We are working with our local artists, and I know that was a concern from the beginning. And one of our important things that were a part of this whole RFQ, and we've already connected them as well. So that will be a big part of this. And we anticipate this being a part of the bicentennial, of course. So it will be done well in time for that. And I also want to remember to thank Councilwoman Solis, because I think she was one of the first ones to bring this project up. And I think it's just about to happen. So
Great.
that's what I
Can we
have.
get some roses in there? Because we used to be the city of roses somewhere.
No, we've had that suggestion, so fill out that survey.
Okay.
I need it back by Friday because I need to get it to the artists.
Okay.
Anything else on that?
No,
Okay, I'm going to turn this over to Joel real quick.
It's a great picture.
that one's really neat, yeah.
Yeah,
Excited for this project.
yeah.
Very neat.
Mayor and Council, thank you for your time this evening. I just have one slide to talk about the CVB's contributions to our public arts in Victoria. We have, recognized some opportunities to help some of our other departments and enhance their events. Primarily through the vein of live music. We are a Texas music-friendly certified community through the Office of the Governor. About a year ago, recognized an opportunity to join with the Main Street with their Tunes at Noon for the Market on Main, VPL Jams, to provide payment for musical artists. A lot of musicians nowadays, don't play for free. It's hard to get artists to play for free. What you do if you continue to ask that, you're going to kind of get the same artists over and over again. So we do provide payment for the artists for the Tunes at Noon, for the Market on Main, and it's a modest amount, about $100 or so for an hour-long live set. That happens a couple of times a year with the Tunes at Noon, as well as the Market on Main. It can go up a little more depending if it's a larger group, especially if we want to bring in, for a good example, we brought in a mariachi group for October last year for their Market on Main event. And then the monthly VPL Jam series, and we work with them routinely, and that's held a little more frequently, but work with them routinely to set up a metric for how much they charge depending on the type of artist that it is. So we've seen success with that. We've seen the increase attendance at the Tunes at Noon. We have worked closely with them to provide seating out there, bag chairs that are available to borrow, ideas for bringing in local food vendors like Chick-fil-A. So how to enhance those events in downtown Victoria, we're very big on that on our department, is an event enhancement, not just only with the city, but outside the city, but within our other city departments as well. We also partner with the Main Street program and the Downtown Art Walk to provide the trolley and shuttle service that is available during all of the Art Walk events. To just ease of use and get people to all the venues. So we've seen great success with that.
Have people been using that?
Yes, we have about 200 riders or so per event, which is not bad attendance on those trolleys. And we get those numbers. We typically partner with Texas Coast Limousine, who has provided those numbers and keep those counts. We also, Kate a few minutes ago mentioned the electrical box wrapping project. That's something that we had started to move forward on. Got a couple of quotes on that, and it would be 7 boxes, 7 locations in De Leon Plaza and around City Hall. We got worked with some local artists, got some ideas, saw some mock-up art, and we just felt there was maybe some cohesiveness missing, and then we knew the crosswalk art project was coming up very soon. So we put a hold on that because we wanted that crosswalk art project to go in because we want all of that to tie in together. We don't want the art to clash. You don't want it to look all the same and blend into each other, but you don't want some crazy thing on the electrical box and it totally clashes with the crosswalk art that's going on. So that's still on our radar, but we put that on hold for a while. And then supporting, Kate mentioned the music walk. That's going to be coming up on September 17th. That's a really wonderful weekend for the arts in Victoria. You have the Viva Texas Film Fest, the Downtown Art Walk, the Music Walk. Everybody's going to be really engaged. We're working to help out the Music Walk, providing some PA systems. We have a lot of those just internally with different city departments. Simple PA systems because it's going to be primarily solo artist sets, those kind of things. So providing those resources for them to where they can have easy transition between artists. And we're also looking to, for the Viva Texas Film Fest, do a filming locations site tour in Victoria on that Saturday morning of the event. Use a film festival that's happening as a springboard to convince filmmakers, directors, producers, whoever, to come to Victoria for the weekend and tour our sites. And we talked with the Texas Film Commission. It was an idea they gave us. We've seen other film festivals in cities like Fredericksburg have success with it. Just a Saturday morning where we're showing off our community, pitching it as a place to have filming locations for movies or episodic television. So we do play an important role. We definitely help and tag on with a lot of events that Main Street and Economic Development and KVB is putting on. And it's just our role of enhancing events and even bringing up new things for the community.
Can somebody tell me more about the Viva Texas Film Fest?
Sure.
Like what kind of artists, how many films, where are they coming from, where are they going to be shown? I've missed all the information about it, I guess. Sure. Or maybe it's not settled yet.
I can speak to that to a degree. Kate could even speak to it a little more intimately, but I can give you just the rundown of it. It is a partnership between the Crossroads Art House, Claire Santillana, and Carissa Winters of the Innovation Collective. A very exciting opportunity for our community, highlighting Spanish language films, Latina filmmakers. It's going to be over 3 days, so a Friday evening, Saturday, and Sunday, primarily at the Leo J. Walder Center for the Performing Arts. The house venue is being activated as well. There are some really great opportunities for bringing in some big names for this event and highlighting the culture of Victoria. And Carissa could probably speak to that. I see her walking up right now, and she could pitch it even better than I can, I'm sure. But it's a lot of others. Our city departments are intimately involved. Myself, Kate, Economic Development. So it's going to be a wonderful event for the community and one that we're looking forward to. So it is not. You remember we used to have a film festival here. It was an independent film festival. This will have some elements of an independent film festival, but at the same time not. So it's going to be a film festival encapsulating and not just independent film. Yes, and Carissa can speak if that's okay.
VivaTexasFilmFestival.com.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
If Carissa, she's more than welcome to come up.
Just a minute or so.
Sure.
To add something.
Hi, everybody. Carissa Winters here. So this is a really exciting time. We've already been featured in Variety magazine, so that was really amazing, as well as the Texas Film Commission. That's huge for a first-year film festival. We have Lewis Black involved, who was a founder of South by Southwest. We also have a couple other people. Michael Dunaway, he helped found the Sarasota Film Festival, as well as he's the owner of the Rome Film Festival and other huge film festivals involved. We have Steve Prince. He's a famous producer. He's done Black Swan and other films as well, and he owns Cross Creek Productions. So we have a powerhouse team that we've brought in to work with us on this. We're really excited because we're also showing filmmakers local from the community, as well as a few who've moved away and done some big things, but they were originally from here. So that's exciting to include the local community. That's big for us to give a platform. We want this to create business, make this a film-friendly city, as well as provide a lot of opportunities for local people here, as well as our community, and, create businesses, heads in beds for the hotel tax, all of these wonderful things. And what's great about it is we have a lot of amazing films, some Sundance winners, as well as Tribeca. We have a film actually premiering called Americana. They were actually asked to be in Sundance. They turned it down so they could be here. It's someone that I know. We have the #1 Harley stunt team in the world performing before the opening of the show. And we also have the actors, one of them being Ruby Modine, Matthew Modine's daughter, who, Full Metal Jacket, Stranger Things, all those. So we are showing Frida. We're going to show Desperado as a throwback films. We have the producer, Sarah Green of Frida, actually coming in town, as well as some other famous producers. And then we have more star power and talent coming. Every day we find out new names. So it's really exciting for this 3-day event. And I'm really excited about Saturday, where we're tying in, music and art in our community. So this is giving a platform to those local musicians and local artists and, all of the businesses in town, not only downtown, but if you have a business, something that this can benefit you, I've told everyone, just let us know, let's do it. This is about our community as a whole, to give a big platform, because we are an amazing city. We have such great things. Instead of saying, move here because we're 2 hours great from something. No, we're great. You come here. So that's a big thing for this film festival. It's more than just film, but we do have a lot of amazing things behind it.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
there will be a schedule being published
Yes.
at some point
Yes,
on
that's
the
about to come
website?
out.
Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. So again, it's vivatexasfilmfestival.com for more information.
Yes, and all that should be going live this week. So
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you all.
Are there any other questions that we can address?
No.
All right, thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
So the second city manager report is an update on our broadband effort, and Derek Furrow is going to start this one off.
So I'll try to go, in the spirit of fast internet, I'll try to go fast. They just keep
So
coming.
if you talk fast, we're going to get a fast internet, right?
Yeah. Well, so I actually do have some folks that are going to help me tonight, and we're grateful to have them here. I also want to acknowledge Donald Jerkovsky's here from the UHV Center of Regional Collaboration. Let me say it correctly. They're doing a great job regionally and sort of getting out and helping the places around Victoria, as well as being involved in the conversations we're having. They've also been involved in conversations with Victoria College to create a program that would be an eligible training provider that would couple nicely with the conversations we're having with Henry Gajardo at the Texas Workforce Commission for Texas Workforce Board for adding fiber installers and technicians to the target occupation list, because we expect to see that going on. And you'll hear today about, upwards of 10 to 15 crews a day currently working and installing fiber all over Victoria already. So the jobs are there, the need is there, and the training opportunities are coming. So this is a sort of a preview of what could come there. Additionally, I just wanted to let you know that we do have available on our website at victoriatx.gov/broadband a map where any resident can go and enter their address. And the map shows work that's scheduled for the rest of the year, right? So it won't show work that's scheduled into 2023 yet, but both AT&T and Sparklight have provided our GIS folks with data to let them make a map that's searchable. You can enter your address and find out if you're in the blue and AT&T is going to be servicing you. You can enter it and find out if you're in the orange and Sparklight will be servicing you, or if you're in the purple and both will service you. And if as you encounter issues with contractors, or as you have questions about, what are they going to do to my flower beds or other things, there are phone numbers that you can call for both companies. Sparklight is 361-433-0056 if you see that you're in the orange on the map. And AT&T is 361-884-8288 if you're in the blue on the map. So should you have problems, questions, concerns, when can I get fiber? Both those numbers you can call and talk to them. With that, if you don't have any questions for me right away, I'll invite Brett Willis, who is not only Sparklight's new general manager, but he's also one of Victoria's newest residents. So we're very happy to have Brett here tonight from Sparklight.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I just jumped on the broadband website. Where do you find a map?
It's too slow?
Oh, right. I see what popped up when you said that.
Scroll
What are we
down.
using?
It's in the middle of the page, really.
Okay, it finally popped up.
Sorry.
It really
You guys got that? Y'all gonna help out with that?
Proud.
Okay.
All right,
All right. Brett.
let's get the city off of dial-up.
Good evening, everybody. I did make a few notes so I don't get off topic and take the rest of our night. I wanted to start by wishing myself a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
So I hope everybody brought a gift on my way out. I do mention that as a bit of a more of a story. My wife asked me this morning and said, hey, happy birthday. What do you want to do tonight? Go out to eat, whatever. I said, no, there's nowhere else I'd rather be than a city council meeting. And of course, I did say that in jest. And then as I thought about it over the day, that really kind of rings home. I moved to Victoria, moved my expecting wife about 1,200 miles, due in about 6 weeks, with a purpose. We want to expand our lives, much like Sparklight wants to expand the lives of those in Victoria. Our purpose is to connect our customers and communities to what matters most. Between now, roughly August, of course, delays can be expected. I would assume before October of next year, we plan to connect 21 to 22,000 homes to gig by gig service, and that's what we're offering out of the gate. Early in January or February of next year, I hope to up that to 2 gigs. That's certainly in the pipeline. With, of course, expansion plans beyond that. As we go on, connecting people to what matters most grows even deeper in me, of course, being that 1,200 miles away. My first child on the way. Elderly family, 3 nieces, one who actually texted me. She got her first cell phone while I've been gone to wish me a happy birthday. But being able to have that video interface means so much more now. Not only that, remote working opportunities, remote learning opportunities, the ability to work, go home at night, and continue your education wouldn't be possible without reliable broadband. And that's something that I've been doing in my short life for about 10 years of it, so a solid, little better than a third. And it's something that's very important to us. One of the Sparklight differences starts with me and people like me. We have dedicated local technicians and staff managers to handle everything from top to bottom. I am a decision maker. I make the decisions on what happens in this market based on what Victoria needs and what I feel Victoria needs. We have a retail store going to be dedicated here. I hope to have under contract by October, but I found that has been more of a challenge than I expected. But we are certainly well on our way. And we're composed of small and medium-sized cities. We don't have NFL towns. We don't go after urban markets. In this game, it is about density. How many passings can I get for every dollar spent is the major thought. We look at it a little bit differently. Obviously, we have to have some type of return on investment, but we try to go after what people need the most, who needs it the most. And of course, our tech is second to none. As I mentioned, launching 1 gig right off the bat is something that most do not do. The state-of-the-art plant, from top to bottom, it's all brand spanking new. Walking into the warehouse that we have over on Coffee Street, I encourage everyone to come take a look at it. It's something truly amazing at the amount of material that we have in there. Over my 10 years, my tech ops manager has been in the business for about 30, and he's never seen the amount of fiber that we have sitting in one spot, and it's a very exciting thing. On top of that, we have diverse routes and a ring in town. We've all been plagued by outages, and they do happen time to time. Things happen in this world. With that ring, if we were to suffer a cut right outside this building, that's going to take down maybe a third of town versus the entire town, which is something not heard of as often as it should be in this world. And beyond that, our values I did want to share as well. Sparklight's values is do right by those we serve, to drive progress, and to lend a hand. Last year, we gave $250,000 to nonprofits focusing on STEM learning, which is, again, something that we do not see across our market. Much as Derek mentioned, too, I did want to mention, I encourage everyone to reach out to that 361-433-0056 should they have any issues or questions. That rolls to local leaders. Right now, that goes straight to the construction manager. He oversees every neighborhood that we're currently building into. It's the unfortunate side of the business, but we are going to mess up flower beds. Occasionally, we are going to cut drops, things that aren't located properly. And we have a human on the other end of the line waiting to take your call and address your concerns. I've even had one issue pop up where a lady's fence was missing a slat, and we hadn't made it to the neighborhood yet. But it's something that we want to go ahead and address, and we went out and took care of it for her. But I thank y'all all for allowing me the opportunity to speak here tonight. If you can't tell, I'm not much of a public speaker, but I appreciate the opportunity to talk to y'all. I look forward to living here. I've enjoyed Victoria for my solid 10 days that I've actually officially been moved. I've been in a hotel for a little while. But please, if you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm right down the road.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
And welcome.
Brett did not tell me that I was holding him hostage this long on his birthday, so. We also do have some folks that have come into town from AT&T to join us. We're really grateful for the effort and the work they've put in as well. And they've been very hands-on. Both of these companies have given us the information and the trust and flexibility to build that map we showed you. And so I'll ask Lydia Zapata and some of her coworkers from AT&T to come and tell us a little more about their project.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, esteemed City Council members, staff and residents of Victoria. AT&T is pleased and honored to be here. I am Lydia Zapata, Director, External and Legislative Affairs, and with me are my colleagues Todd Tulis, Construction Project Manager, and Leanna Love, our Fiber Execution Manager. I will begin by explaining why we are deploying fiber in your neighborhoods. Fiber is a technology that can handle growth connectivity. We have highly trained engineers and technicians to operate, maintain, and service the network and support customers at the local level. We monitor our network 24/7 and are ready to respond to any man-made or natural disaster to ensure City of Victoria stays connected. As one of the largest fiber providers in the nation, we design our network in an integrated fashion to capture all potential growth opportunities to ensure we maximize the utility of every strand of fiber we lay. And as we continue to invest in expanding our network, more of our customers will have access to higher speed broadband services, whether over our wireless network, our fiber network, or a combination of both. As you leave here today, it is my hope that you remember our comments. AT&T is committed to working together with government and other industry leaders to expand affordable access and increase broadband adoption in communities across the state, and to help every resident in the City of Victoria have an opportunity to succeed within goal of narrowing the digital divide. I'll leave several handouts with additional information for your use. And with that, I will now turn it over to Todd Tulis, our Construction Project Manager. Thank you for your time.
First of all, thank you all for having us and letting us come and talk about, you know, kind of what's happening in Victoria. It's nice to work with a city that's has open arms and is willing to work with us and allow us to come into these neighborhoods, into the city and do this work, which I think, as you all understand, it's intrusive, what we have to do to come in and lay fiber into neighborhoods where there hasn't been the product. But I'd also like to thank Derek and Ken for their cooperation and assistance through the process. They've been great to work with. You know, we're building all over our 22 state footprint, but all over South Texas. And I'll tell you, some of my counterparts have a more difficult time doing their job than we do here in Victoria, and it's much appreciated. Kind of our process, just a basic overview of what we do. In my job, engineering draws a plan. They draw the how we're going to go in and serve a neighborhood, and once they distribute that job, it flows to me or my coworker who has the same title, and we take those jobs, go out, drive the neighborhood, walk the neighborhood, ensure that the build is going to work as designed, and then I order the cable and material that it will take to build that job. At that point, I award it to a contractor. We have two general contractors working in Victoria. It's Quest Communications and Oak Tex. And then I oversee that project throughout construction and deal with roadblocks or any issues that may arise as we go through the process, and all the while making sure we're maintaining AT&T's quality standards. Once that job is completely placed, it is turned over to our splicing technicians who go out and make the connections that are necessary to serve the neighborhood. And I think right now, I currently have about 25 projects going on in Victoria. That's 25 neighborhoods that are being built out with more planned for this year. And I've already been in contact with engineering, and there's somewhere around that many projects or more scheduled in 23. So it's a big build, and if you drive around town, you will see a lot of activity, a lot of placing, a lot of aerial crews, buried crews, and as Sparklight mentioned, the material that's coming into Victoria is something I haven't seen. I've been in this general area for about 25 years with AT&T, and we are all, those of us that are employees that live in the vicinity, and the technicians and managers and engineers, we're all excited that fiber is being deployed here because it's well overdue. Our complaint process, you know, we have the local number that's shown on the board right now. We handle those things quickly, and we follow up to make sure that property owner or resident is satisfied with our resolution whenever those issues arise. We cut water pipes, flower beds get disturbed. We do our best to take care of those, and like I said, we give that to the contractor to handle, but we do make sure that at the end of the day, they tell us that they're satisfied with the resolution. So again, thank you for your time, and appreciate the cooperation and the willingness to let us come in and do this work. So,
Well, thank you to both of y'all for choosing to, oh, you got more to say? Okay, come on.
I'm so sorry, and then y'all get to go home. Good evening. My name is Leanna Love. I'm part of the fiber execution team for South Texas. So I actually cover Victoria, Corpus, Laredo, and the Rio Grande Valley. So I stay pretty busy and I travel pretty often. I am based out of Corpus, so I worked very closely with the city of Victoria throughout my time with AT&T, which has been nearly about 10 years. I know that y'all's city has been waiting for this, so being a part of the process to get to roll it out, I can truly say I am thrilled. I am so excited, and our team's here so ready to service their community as well. Just so that way y'all can kind of have a good understanding of what you're going to see post-construction, because that's where I get to come in and kind of take advantage of all the fun stuff. So I want you to kind of know just exactly what you're going to be seeing throughout your community. You are going to see an increase of my retail teams and different channels come out into your communities, and it's primarily just to educate the residents of what they're eligible for and what the benefits of our fiber internet are going to be. One of the first upcoming events that y'all will see with us is going to be a ribbon cutting that we will be putting together. Lydia will work back with Derek, and Derek, I have to say thank you. I know you've been a great support with us working thus far. But we do plan on having a ribbon cutting celebration, just as we're very excited to bring fiber to Corpus. So you'll be seeing a party from us on that end that we're excited to share with you. Right after that, you will be seeing a lot of our channels canvassing our neighborhoods. And what that means is they're going to be in our neighborhoods, primarily more in the evening time, because we know nobody wants to be outside in the middle of the day. It's a little hot right now. But they're going to be out passing out flyers and door hangers and just letting those residents know that they're eligible for fiber. And then if they're able to set up at that time, they'll help them process that order, just so that way they know they have a local point of contact between the 4 locations that we do have here in Victoria. In addition, you're going to see us have a lot of pop-up events within the city, right? So we might team up with local businesses and things like that near areas where we're rolling out those fiber optic connections. That way we're able to educate from that perspective as well. In addition to that, you'll kind of see us in your neighborhoods. We do try to make contact with residents, and we ask for approval for them to basically be a host home, is what we refer to them as. And with those host homes, it's kind of a way for us to be centralized in a neighborhood. That way, any residents around that particular resident has any questions, it's a little bit more of an easier engagement factor for us, where we can say, oh, hey, they're over at John's house. Let's go check them out really quick. So it's really just our way to be a little bit more personable with the residents of Victoria. Know that throughout this process, my teams do lead with customer experience first. So we are really here just to make sure to answer any questions that y'all might have, make sure that those installs get installed as seamless as possible, and then it's a good experience throughout, because like everyone has said, we know that y'all have been waiting for this moment for quite some time. So anything that y'all might need from a post-construction standpoint, I will be your point of contact. Daryl has my contact information. So if there's any concerns or anything like that, or if there's anything that you would like AT&T to be a part of from a city standpoint, we would love to join you at that. So definitely feel free to reach out. We're just a phone call or an email away. But thank you again. Y'all have been an absolute dream to work with. We're very appreciative for it, and we're so excited to roll out our product for the city of Victoria. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate y'all, both of y'all's companies choosing to invest in Victoria, and I know our citizens will be better for it, and really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, and you know, if you have any questions for either of these groups, they'll be glad to answer those. The clicker's not working, but the next slide just mentions our victoriatx.gov/broadband, and so if you can be patient and get your internet there, then it'll have information there, and we'll be glad to answer anything. Just for the record, Suddenlink is now Optimum, and we did talk with them about trying to give us some construction updates. They weren't able to be here tonight, but they are continuing to expand their nodes, so reducing the number of customers on a node, in contrast to the fiber to the home approach. So.
Okay.
And one last thing, Mayor, if you don't mind, really quickly, this because I know we got to wrap up, but I think it's important to mention that all this started with an effort to make broadband and internet more affordable, reliable, and accessible. And as you know, this has been a priority for council to the point where we've even considered building a middle mile to ensure that we reach all our residents. And I think it's important to convey publicly that from our understanding, you know, both of the companies that you've heard from tonight are committed to doing that, committed to building fiber throughout our entire community so that even in areas that were a priority for us, you know, are addressed. And so I think it's important to say that out loud. And I hope they're all head nodding behind me because, you know, that's been part of the conversation, and we obviously will continue to work with them to ensure that that actually happens.
Yep. Thank you for that reminder. Both companies are part of the Affordable Connectivity Program and do offer services that would be available to folks that may qualify for those programs. And as you see on the map, AT&T is already sort of spreading out, and Sparklight has indicated a commitment to do the same.
Okay. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate it. So we're going to take probably a 10-minute recess, and then we will reconvene into executive session. So 8:12, please. Ms. Hilbrecht.
The City Council will recess for executive session on the 16th day of August, 2022 at 8:02 p.m. The subject matter of the executive session deliberation is as follows. Executive session in accordance with Texas Government Code 551.087, 551.072, and 551.071.
Okay.